very grateful to the court. He's very grateful to everybody in Ogun State for their support, and we look forward to us being in office till 2027, delivering on the mandate of the people and our promises to them.
The victory of today at the Supreme Court, as well as the victory, our victory in the Court of Appeal and Tribunal. Alhamdulillah, we thank God for that.
We thank the court for the judgment. It's a very lucid judgment, and it has restated the position of the law. It has brought more clarity into the issue of pre-hearing notice.
Concluded today, I believe it is a high time for us to join hands together to work together for the progress of Kaduna State.
The Supreme Court has confirmed the judgment of the tribunal and confirmed the judgment of the Court of Appeal. So there's great rejoicing in Delta, there's thanksgiving, and the people of Delta will now settle down and face the business of government.
We're very happy for this judgment. This judgment has opened more doors for us in Delta State, in line with the agenda, which is meaningful development for all Deltas, opportunity for all, realistic reforms, and also to enhance peace and security in the state.
Jubilations trailed the judgment as parties whose victory the court affirmed could not hold their excitement. The Supreme Court has laid to rest all issues in respect to the governorship election appeal from the state. What this means is their position, either as appellants and respondents, having exhausted all their legal opinions, will now have to embrace the governance of the duly affirmed governors. Celestina Iria, TVC News, Abuja.
In a related development, reactions are pouring in from states where the Supreme Court upheld the election of the governors. The residents of Nasarawa and Ogun States is celebrating the victory of governors Abdullahi Sule and Abiodun at the Supreme Court. Party supporters and some residents are patiently waiting to welcome back their governors to the state from Abuja. We have more in this report.
It's a celebratory mood for members and leaders of the Nasarawa State All Progressives Congress, APC, in Abuja. This is shortly after the Supreme Court's judgment affirming Abdullahi Sule as the duly elected governor. The Supreme Court had, in a unanimous decision, affirmed Abdullahi Sule's victory at the poll. This was after a long legal tussle with the candidate of the People's Democratic Party, PDP, David Mbugadu. Reacting to the judgment of the Apex Court, Governor Sule, who is obviously elated, promises to be magnanimous in victory.
This victory also is a challenge. It has given us the opportunity to prove, because God Almighty has bestowed this victory and this power on our shoulders. So God Almighty wants to see whether we will be able to carry everybody together.
It is my hope that with this victory, all well-meaning citizens of our state will rally around the administration of Engineer A. the platform of APC, to ensure that the difference of democracy, which he has started with the first time to deliver in our state, will be enhanced.
Let's consider this as our victory and work towards the upliftment of our state.
The governor was also in the presidential villa to thank President Tinubu for his leadership and also ensuring that fairness is done without due interference. He also responded to reports of protests by some supporters of opposition political parties not pleased with the decision of the Apex Court.
It's a day that not everybody will be happy. In every state where the Supreme Court actually passed judgment, in every one of these states you will find some people happy and some other people not happy.
The candidate of the PDP has accepted the decision of the Apex Court in good faith.
Normalcy is gradually returning to the city as security agents have been able to disperse the protesters. Godwin Agua, TVC News, Lafia.
The interesting thing about it is the fact that I was the one who conducted the primaries that gave the ticket to Governor Abiodun. So it shows that we've indicated that the party produced the right candidate. And the candidate went through the election, won the election, won the second election, which is the tribunal, won the third election, which is the appeal court, and won the final election, which is the Supreme Court.
We are prayed, we're believing that, from the first one, the tribunal to appeal, and our expectation is high that the Supreme, will get judgment. And it has happened today. And that is why we're all happy, we're all elated.
I'm very, very glad that today we are doing victory today, because our enemy, we thank God for our enemy, they are not rejoiced against us. So for that, I'm very, very happy.
Let's take a short break, and when we return, it will be time to speak with our guest of the day, Professor Femi Olufemilade, a political scientist and contemporary security affairs analyst, to discuss taming banditry in Nigeria. Please stay with Politics Tonight. We'll be right back. Welcome back, everyone, and thank you very much for staying with us. Tonight, we shift attention to one of the biggest, if not the biggest, predicaments bedeviling our nation at the moment. Today, armed banditry, which is characterized by armed robbery, kidnapping, murder, and rape, is the most urgent national security concern in Nigeria. If security is guaranteed, the economy will thrive, and every other sector will also flourish. My guest tonight is Professor Femi Olufemilade, a political scientist and contemporary security affairs analyst. He was a former head of departments, international relations and strategic studies. Also the dean of the College of Arts and Social Sciences, Ibadan University, as a focus on taming banditry in Nigeria. Prof, good evening to you, sir, and thank you very much for joining us tonight.
Good evening, and thank you for having me.
Right, so let's begin with a general assessment of the security situation in Nigeria. What's your evaluation of the situation?
Well, it appears that the security situation in the country, which has been deteriorating seriously, at least since 2010, when the Boko Haram onslaught began effectively, has been compounded to a point where we can say it's in a crisis situation.
Right. I mean, we all can see that insecurity in Nigeria has become increasingly complex and uncertain. I mean, look at the Northwest, part of the North Central, some parts of the East, and most recently, rampant kidnapping in the Federal Capital Territory. What exactly are we not doing right?
Well, if you do not learn from your past mistakes, you are going to have your woes being repeated all over and over again. The problem we face in terms of security in this country is not something novel. It's something that has happened in other countries, and we have the benefit of learning from them. And then over the years, these things have been happening here, and we have the pedestal where we can mount and learn from our mistakes. The problem is that so much talk goes into fighting insecurity, and so much money. We appear to believe that the best way to deal with insecurity is to throw money at it, while leaving our security architecture exactly as it was over a decade ago. What do I mean? This country has been running a centralized security machinery. Internal security is within the purview of the Nigerian police in particular. And then we have allied agencies like Nigerian Security and Civil Defense Corps, Immigration Corps, DSS, and what have you. Nigeria is the only federation in the world that runs a centralized internal security machinery. Nigeria is too large in terms of population. By various estimates, we are over 200 million. And then we expect an Inspector General of Police who is just one man with one brain to coordinate security around the nooks and crannies of this country, receiving messages, signals, reports from 36 police commissioners and one in the FCT, making 37. The logical thing to do, and this is no-brainer, is a no-brainer, is to decentralize, allow states run by governors recognized by the Constitution as chief security officers of their states to have their own police agency. By so doing, all this focus on Abuja, the president, the Inspector General of Police, will be reversed drastically, and people will begin to look at their governor and their own respective state security formation, police formation, as responsible for whatever is their lot in terms of security. Policing is local. I was in the US in December 2019 at Johns Hopkins University. While there, the governor of Maryland signed a bill into law permitting Johns Hopkins University to have its own campus police. What led to that were some incidents within its territory, as it were. And there had been pressure that the state police of Maryland was not giving them adequate security coverage. And with that incident, it became inevitable for the government, because that is a place where people get elected indeed, and they don't joke with the yearnings of the electorate. Johns Hopkins University, a university, not a county, was granted license to have its own police. There are so many, unless we do that, we are going to be moving in a cycle, because the machinery of the federal government in terms of security is incapable of dealing with the challenge of insecurity across the country. That much is clear to everyone. Even the so-called federal police, without the support of state governments, it probably will have collapsed. In other words, even the federal government cannot maintain its own police establishment effectively. It's state governors who buy them patrol vans, build new police stations, and support them in diverse ways. If you allow states to have their own police, and it must not be all of them. Canada is a federation. They have 7 provinces. 6 provinces have provincial police. 1 did not deem it necessary to establish one. And then it's the federal police that maintains security, internal security in that province. It doesn't mean that every state in Nigeria must run a state police institution. It's a matter of capacity. Guidelines will be laid out in terms of everything, from recruitment to procurement of arms and ammunition, the caliber of weapons that you can use, and the type of training you can give, etc. And then, in terms of the fear of abuse, you have the Police Service Commission. It can be enlarged to become National Police Service Commission that will also be like a regulatory agency over state policing institutions, such that if there is any form of abuse, they can say, well, your state police formation for now will be under the control of the Inspector General of Police of the Federation. And there will be, sanctions for abuse. So the fear that governors will abuse it, is the federal police not being abused? Don't they get involved in some shady things during elections and in other circumstances? So anything can be abused. But that doesn't mean that we throw the baby away with the bath water. Before the military took power in this country in 1966, we used to have policing at the local government level and at the regional level. It was during the Civil War when the military authorities needed to ramp up all available manpower capable of handling arms, that they mobilized all the local government police from north to south and all the regional police personnel to the war front. They gave them crash training. And that was how overnight the Nigerian military, from less than about 50,000 jumped to over 250,000. So it is not something that is alien to us. We had passed through that route before. It is when you do that, you allow states to run their own police, that you will have effective security governance at the state level, percolating to the local government level. I read something, is it S, they call it now, it used to be tweet by Mr. Bayo Nonuga, outlining a plan by President Bola Ahmed Tinubu to establish forest guards to protect mining enclaves in the country where a lot of criminality and bloodletting has been happening. And also, they are also planning to establish a marine police formation for the country. That is good in principle. I have been advocating for that, but not for federal government to take it up. The federal government shouldn't do that. In any case, the Nigerian police has a marine unit since 1891 under the Lagos colony. And today they have 81 stations around the riverine areas and the coastal regions. So he can put more resources into that particular unit of the Nigerian police, but his focus should be how to send a bill to the National Assembly to permit the decentralization of the Nigerian policing architecture, so that state governors or state governments can also have their respective police, some in the riverine areas like Rivers State, Bayelsa State, Delta States. Their own focus, if the challenges they are having is from the creeks, their focus could be marine police. And for those in the forested areas, where a lot of banditry has been taking place, like Zamfara, for instance, they could decide to establish forest guards. So the federal government's role will be to put a regulatory machinery and for oversight and control in place. And it's not mandatory, like I said earlier, that every state must have a state police. It should be based on need. Lagos State, for instance, may decide to have a form of DSS. Those, because it's heavily urbanized and the population there is overwhelming. So the type of police they will have, for it to be more effective, let the bulk of it be secret service, so that they blend with the community and are able to monitor and apprehend criminals.
All right, that's perfect. Yes. I'm talking about regulatory measures in place to avoid oversight. Prof, I'm sure you're aware of the few state security outfits already in place, already functioning in some states. But then there are fears, and one of them is that there are tendencies that state governors may hijack this security outfit for their own personal or selfish reasons.
Well, like I said earlier, that fear is quite palpable. But let me give you an example. The idea of setting up private universities have been on the front burner. Even in the Second Republic, it was mooted, and some tried to even establish some, but the country did away with it because it was felt that it would be abused, that standards would be destroyed, etc. But today, when you look at rankings of universities, you see that a good number of these private universities are on the top in this country. It is so because we have a National Universities Commission that sets guidelines for the establishment of universities and approve programs. And when programs are due for reaccreditation, it's not a blanket accreditation eternally. Every 5 years, experts in each subject area, whether it's international relations and strategic studies or sociology or medicine, will come on visitation. And they will look at everything you have been doing, even your scripts, even your staff files. Where did they study? Anything you can think of, your classrooms, your laboratories. And sometimes they will tell you, shut down this place. Or sometimes they will say, the accreditation we are giving you is just temporary. It's just a kind of let's wait and see. They call it interim accreditation. Sometimes, but if you have done your own work well, they give you full accreditation. The same thing can be replicated in terms of state police. It's a time that is an idea whose time has come. It's inevitable. We can't run away from it. Like I said earlier, to allay fears and to reassure everyone that state police will not be abused, the present Police Service Commission should be redesigned to become National Police Service Commission. And it should have a department that is responsible for oversight on state police formations. And that department will set out guidelines, how much you should have. It may include having a consolidated fund so that when you set up your state police, the issue of not paying them will not arise. That is a type of fund that right from the time you are getting your allocation, it's already deducted aside for that purpose. And then in terms of recruitment and training, it will also spell out the guidelines. There will be, your carrying capacity must be there. If all you can afford for state police in a month is 1 billion naira, then there will be a limit to the number of personnel you can recruit. If it is 5 billion, it could be more. And then in terms of training, you cannot go and start giving them training in guerrilla warfare. That is going to be suspect. So your training manual, everything, they will have oversight over it. And the range of the scope of their activity will also be delineated so that they don't start having conflict with existing internal security agencies like the Federal Police, like the DSS and Civil Defense and what have you. So they would rather work in a complementary manner. And there will be also in the act establishing, giving the states the latitude to establish their own police, sanctions will be clearly spelled out. Like if you are running a medical program in a university, for instance, if you do not meet up to basic requirements of Medical and Dental Council of Nigeria, they can stop your program, withdraw the license they gave you. So that will also be possible in this case. And then those who actually abuse the police should be made to face the wrath of law. And in that case, state governors, we must have in that law that when state governors, maybe constitutional review, that any state governor that abuse the police under its control should be made to face the consequences as soon as he steps down from office. After all, some of them went to jail for looting their state's treasury after they left office. So that will be there. It was Martin Luther King who says that judicial decrees may not change the heart, but it will at least restrain the heartless. In other words, those who are prone to abusing state police may be itching to do so. But the fact that consequences are there awaiting them, if they are state governors or whoever, will also curb them to a great extent. And in any case, whenever there is such abuse, I've written a paper published in my centers, Buratai Center for Contemporary Security Affairs, of which I'm the director. The book of reading we published last year, titled Securing Nigeria in the 21st Century. We have a paper there on state police that gives a blow-by-blow, step-by-step approach to setting up state police in Nigeria and curbing abuses. It's not rocket science. It can be done.
All right. So, Prof, earlier you talked about the capability of the security architecture. And I'd like you to buttress on that because Nigeria's military has announced offensives, including airstrikes against bandit hideouts in vast forests across the northwest. But these criminal gangs are proving an elusive enemy. Is it about political will or competence?
My sister, the problem is not with the military so much. It's not so much with them. I've interacted with the military closely. I've been involved with them at the level of research and teaching as a resource person. So I have a lot of friends among them from the number one to other ranks over the years. I can tell you that the military is being overstretched, completely overstretched. There is what I call war fatigue. You cannot be fighting war endlessly. If you are not careful, you have mutiny. Because people that are dying in the military, they are human beings like us. The problem is the military originally is designed to deal with external threats. But over the years, there is hardly no state, I'm told, there is, except one state, 35 states have internal security operation manned by the military only. So, and what is the size of this military? They need backup. And that was why when they were fighting Boko Haram in Borno, they, on their own, created what is called a civilian JTF, which was a sort of pseudo paramilitary agency manned by the locals who were trained by them and equipped to be able to hold the ground. If, for instance, they go to Gwoza and they are able to clear out insurgents or bandits there, are they going to set up a barrack there permanently? So they need those who are going to take charge. And that was why they created that. Instead of that, why can't we have state police? So that when the military comes in to help out, when the police formations that are there are unable to cope with the level of firepower or assault coming from terrorists, bandits, and sundry criminal elements, then the military can come in and clear the way for them. After they had gone, the local police formation will secure the environment. But we have a situation where the military goes in this direction, they bring respite to the people, they go back to other theater of battles. The insurgents monitor the situation, they carry out their surveillance, they discover the military out, and they come back. And then we start blaming the military. So I'm not saying the military do not have their own internal issues. I suspect that there are elements within the military who probably do not want this unending war never to end. I suspect there are corrupt elements within the military who profit from the huge budgetary allocations going into the into defense sub-budgets and so on and so forth. So, but the onus is on the security chiefs themselves to make sure they have a robust counterintelligence unit that can fish out those insider collaborators and saboteurs within the establishment. Of course, the military needs to be better equipped. The military needs to be better funded. There is no gainsaying that. But more importantly, we should delineate between the functions of the military in an ideal setting and what should be within the purview of internal security agencies. If we do that, after all, this military we are talking about, the Nigerian military, I don't know any military in the world, maybe with the exception of maybe Pakistan, that has credentials for successful peacekeeping operations globally more than the Nigerian military. They have been everywhere, and anywhere they went, they shone like the star. So why is it that within their own terrain, it appears they are not bringing this insurgency, banditry, terrorism to an end? It's because we are giving them more than what their capacity can handle. We are giving them police duties. We are giving them the duties of paramilitary forces. They are in charge of roadblocks. They are the ones guarding some buildings. They are the ones escorting some VIPs. Haba. We can't continue to overstretch them like that and expect them to bring this to an end. They are doing their optimum best, as far as I'm concerned.
All right. Prof, let's take a break, and when we come back, we will continue with this conversation. I've been speaking with Professor Femi Olufumilade, political scientist and contemporary security affairs analyst. We'll take a break now, and I will be right back. Stay with us.
Experience information and entertainment like never before as TVC Breakfast takes your weekends to a whole new level. Introducing TVC Breakfast Weekend Edition, your ultimate source of thrilling sports updates, insightful political analysis, and captivating entertainment news. Stay in the know with what's trending, catch up with the latest in sports, and immerse yourself in the latest buzz from the world of music and movies. Your weekends are no longer just days off, but moments packed with knowledge, excitement, and enjoyment. TVC Breakfast Weekend Edition, only on TVC News.
Welcome back, everyone. Thank you so much for staying with us. This is Politics Tonight, and tonight we're discussing taming banditry in Nigeria. And I've been speaking with Professor Femi Olufumilade, a political scientist and contemporary security affairs analyst, as our guest tonight. Prof, thank you so much for staying with us. Let's move on with this conversation. And right, let me come in from this angle, because experts and stakeholders like yourself have consistently talked about taming the tiger without a bullet, and that's the non-kinetic approach, one of which is a peace-building process that includes dialogue between security agencies and communities. So I'm asking, if this has been explored over time, why is it not working?
Please repeat that, your last phrase.
Right. I want us to look at the non-kinetic approach that have been explored over time in dealing with banditry in Nigeria, because experts like yourself have talked about killing the tiger without a bullet, one of which is a peace-building process that includes dialogue between security agencies and communities. So I'm asking, if this has been explored over time, why is it not working?
Well, when you talk of non-kinetic approach, it means methods other than the use of force.
Absolutely.
When you talk, I hear people talk of non-kinetic. It is a multi-faceted approach to dealing with conflicts. And it's when you really have a conflict that it works. What we are facing is criminality. It's not maybe one community like the Niger Delta militancy, when the region was neglected by the government, federal government, and there was a lot of environmental pollution, a lot of destruction of means of livelihood because of oil pollution. Those who are fishermen could not fish. Those who are farmers, oil spillage had destroyed their farmlands and so on. And so there was a genuine reason for the youths of that region to take up arms against the federal government because it was an existential struggle for them. And then the non-kinetic approach you mentioned was adopted by President Umaru Musa Yar'Adua of blessed memory when he declared the presidential amnesty for all militants who are willing to surrender their arms. And then he gave them some good offers. If you surrender your arms, I will establish a Ministry of Niger Delta Affairs, which will ensure that issues pertaining to your region will be always on the front burner at the highest level of government, which is the federal cabinet, in perpetuity. That was one of the carrots he offered. He also offered them amnesty, that is, they will not be tried for whatever they might have done. And beyond that, they are going to be reintegrated back into society in a generous manner. Those who have had good enough formal education were sent to various universities and training institutions, some trained as pilots, etc., home and abroad. I had some of them as my students, hundreds of them. And then those who didn't have much education, they were trained in various vocations, some underwater welding, some things like farming and all that in a modern way. And that brought respite to the Niger Delta because there was a genuine conflict, and dialogue actually produced respite. Oil production, they had reduced it to about 800,000 barrels. It was courtesy of the amnesty that the production level began to soar. So a non-kinetic approach in that scenario where there was really a conflict will work. But when you have a people that are pure criminals, that are abducting people in their various homes, and then asking for unimaginable amount of cash, failing which they start killing, I think that is not, the Niger Delta militants, I never heard of them killing anybody. They were abducting, but not for ransom. They were abducting to gain attention. But these ones, you don't need to be in the line of fire for you to be a victim. You may just be traveling, they pick you up. So these are criminals. It's only making our kinetic approach more robust that will help us deal with such characters. And this is the reason why I have advocated for civil mobilization for self-defense. And what do I mean by that? Every country that, set much store by security normally have what they call reserves. Those are people that when the existing military and security agencies cannot cope, it could be in a war situation, etc., they are mobilized armed because they've had some training. In our own situation, we do not have that in a formal way. So I advocate that a community like Chibok or Dapchi and other communities that are vulnerable in Niger State, in Zamfara State, in Benue State, Plateau, Taraba, Southern Kaduna, and what have you, the federal government should do something akin to civilian JTF in Borno State as a short-term measure. Let each of those communities provide youths under the authority of the traditional institution in that community so that there will be some governance and control. Let them produce volunteers, and the nearest military formation will give them training and get them armed so that they can repulse any attack, and they will be able to hold the ground while they are calling for help in the event that there is a form of attack that is likely to become too difficult for them to handle. So that is what we need across the country. All the vulnerable communities should be armed, and they should be armed in a guided, regulated, well-articulated manner, not that you just put arms in the hands of all of them. Of course, the identity will be established, background checks will be done. It could be the traditional council in the community that will say, these are our children, we know them, and whatever training they are given, they will use it to protect us. That will be a short-term measure. We need it urgently. Otherwise, I want to say that the spate of kidnapping, killing, near genocide invasion of various communities across Nigeria, there is practically nothing on the ground that can stop it or stem it as we speak. The only thing that these bandits who have tasted money will understand, like former governor of Kaduna State will always say, bomb them, bomb them, bomb them. I think if they can't be bombed, let them know that wherever they are going to, there are people there armed to the teeth who will repel them. They too want to leave. There should be deterrence. That is what I'm trying to say in the short term, in the short run. The long-term measure is this, the route to it is the state police regime that I mentioned earlier.
All right. So, Prof, I mean, let me take you back.
In conclusion, what we need is to rejig our kinetic approach towards banditry and sundry criminal invasions of our territory. It's not a non-kinetic approach. If you have people with genuine grievances that are taking up arms for one reason or the other, that is the kind of situation where you can talk of non-kinetic, engaging them in dialogue and seeing the way out.
All right. So let me quickly take you back to the unfortunate event on the plateau in December. And reacting to that event, the Chief of Defense Staff says the Nigerian Army did not have sufficient intelligence to foil some of these attacks. So I'm asking, what is the place or significance of intelligence in all these?
Well, I consider what happened in Plateau as an incident that is capable of defaming the Nigerian military establishment. A lot of calls were made to the military. And this was not a killing that took place within an hour. I think it spilled over into even to the second day in various communities. It beats me why up till now we have not seen anybody arraigned or paraded before the cameras that these are the people arrested. It beats me why that is not so. And that is why I feel the military should look inwards, because these people left a lot of trails. I watched TV reports where I saw some of the victims saying they knew some of these guys who came to shoot them, but he managed to, you see this one say, I managed to escape because I ran, and so on and so forth. What, have they gone to debrief such people and to ask them who is that person? Where does he live? And so on and so forth. So it's, I don't think it was much as I want to give encouragement to the military and to let the country know that they've been doing their best. That particular incident in Plateau cast aspersions on their leadership, a serious aspersion. Talking of intelligence, there are different types of intelligence, human intelligence. I just cited one, and even if you have gadgets in space, monitoring the ground anywhere, the report of that gadget or satellite, spy satellite or whatever, or drone, or CCTV camera, will still have to be decoded and analyzed by a human being. So the primacy of human intelligence in dealing with insecurity is incontrovertible. And there is a wealth of human intelligence. Even right from the time the attack was ongoing, phone calls were being made left, right, and center. And how come that these guys destroyed whole communities, killed all that could be killed, and they left? Don't they have helicopters? The Tucano we are talking about, where was it then? Wouldn't it be put to use? Was there no way these communities could be cordoned? I mean, if you knew they were attacking in point A, and they are likely to move, then you start figuring out what could be the exit, and you lay ambush. So that is one area President Tinubu should look at. The fact that each time we have reports of killings on unimaginable scale, we never hear of anybody being arrested. In most cases, nor anybody being paraded, nor anybody being taken for trial or punished. That is why it has, is a major reason why the whole thing is not abating. And even when some people get arrested, I can give you an example. There was a man called Iskilu Akilu. He was terrorizing the Okegun region of Oyo State and Ibarapa. A lot of outcry has gone out, but nothing was done to this man. He will abduct women, they will rape, they will cut people's hands, they will, invade villages, farm communities, steal, loot, do whatever they liked. It was a terror. Then, the Yoruba people in that community went to the leader of OPC, Iba Gani Adams, and he deployed some OPC elements to Kajola. That was where the man was. And they got the man arrested. But what happened? The people that arrested this man, they took him to the police headquarters in Ibadan. They got detained. A share was given to Iskilu Wakilu to sit like a VIP. Eventually, he was released. You can find out what I'm talking to you about. Those people were even charged to court who arrested him, that they were on illegal policing duty. I've been hearing lawyers talking of citizen arrest. Is it a crime to arrest a criminal? So that is the kind of thing happening around the country. That is why some people don't want to even go and report when they see anything happening, because they are afraid that this person is so powerful that if I report him, they will come for me because it will soon be released.
Absolutely.
President
let me come in here.
How
right.
those who have been apprehended can be publicly tried.
Absolutely. Let me come in here because we're almost out of time. One of the cardinal points of the renewed hope agenda of President Bola Tinubu is security. Do you think the president has the right structure and measures in place to tackle this menace head-on?
Well, I think the president is rather too slow for my liking. He has set up a constitutional review committee into policing, but it appears they are working in secrecy. The matter facing us is not a secret affair. They should have a public discussion. They should throw their doors open. There are people who can add value to what they are doing. And the process should be hastened up so that we can have a new policing architecture that is a true reflection of the federal system we purportedly operate in letters, but not in practice, whereby you can have states having their own policing structures, even local government. And so it should hasten up that and then make it a public affair. It's not a secret affair. Then secondly, it should also remember that he said he's going to deploy technology to fight insecurity. It's in that renewed hope agenda. I have not seen much of that by way of drones. Drones can be used even when you say you cannot access an area, like what happened in Plateau. Can't drones be deployed to track the movement of those attackers in real time? In real time. If we need help, let us reach out. The United States has a base in the Niger Republic. In any case, we have said we are not dealing with Niger for now, but we can deal with the United States directly, so that we can collect a lot of intelligence using drones.
All right, Prof. Sadly, we're out of time. I wish we had enough time for this conversation, but I'm sure we will continue some other time. Thank you so much. I've been speaking with Professor Femi Olufumilade, a political scientist and contemporary security affairs analyst. Thank you so much, Prof, for your insight on the program tonight.
Thank you for having me. Thank you for having me.
And that's all we have for you on Politics Tonight. But join us again on Monday for another edition of the program. I am Olajumoke Olanji. Please have a great weekend.
Every week, Green Angle, in partnership with Wild Aid, will bring you a documentary series on environmental issues affecting Nigeria's amazing biodiversity, from climate change, air pollution, and wildlife conservation. We will be traveling across Nigeria to give you on-the-ground report of the issues affecting our environment. It airs every Saturday at 4:30 p.m. only on TVC News.
Information is power, information is security, information is knowledge. Labour Lens will believe that working people around the world have real questions to their own. They want to know how the world of work operates, what it means to the employer of labour, how policies affect workers in the workplace. On Labour Lens, I am sure we engage effectively the organization